Mark Gilbert from San Gervasi. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update from the 9th of October, 2025. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. Saturday the 4th, Georgia held municipal elections. However, 2 out of 4 major opposition parties boycotted them. They'd received most of the opposition votes last year in the parliamentary election that the ruling party stole. Opposition voters, particularly in Tbilisi, were divided on whether to participate in the elections that many considered illegitimate. Opposition parties Coalition Strong Georgia, or Zlieri Lelo, and Gacharia for Georgia, or Sakartvelostis, couldn't get most opposition voters to show up, and the Georgian Dream, or the Kotsebi, received a sweeping victory in all 64 municipalities. Kahi Kaladze won over 70% of the votes, became mayor of Tbilisi for the 3rd time. Meanwhile, Irakli Kupradze, the joint candidate of Zlieri Lelo and Sakartvelostis, managed to get only 12% of the vote. The results were even more one-sided in other municipalities, with the Kotsebi getting over 80% of the votes across Georgia. On the same day, a small group of opposition politicians, mainly consisting of the United National Movement, or Natsebi, led by Pata Burchuladze, world-famous opera singer, organized a rally in front of the presidential palace where they made an official declaration stating that the government was illegitimate and that power should be transferred back to the people. Burchuladze read the declaration calling for the arrest of the Kotsebi leadership, including Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze and Bidzina Ivanishvili, founder of the party and leader of the country. What followed was an attempt to breach the presidential palace. Its gates were broken down, but special forces came out of the building, and after physical clashes between the two sides, the crowd was dispersed. Burchuladze and 4 people from the organizational committee of the rally were arrested and charged with attempting to overthrow the constitutional order. The attempted storming of the presidential palace quickly overshadowed the election results. Salome Zurabashvili, Georgia's 5th president, quickly distanced herself from the incident, writing on Twitter that it was a provocation by the ruling party and a farce. She said that the goal was to discredit peaceful protesters who had been demonstrating for more than 300 days in front of parliament. Zurabashvili also urged people to keep protesting peacefully, saying that showing up now is more important than ever, as the ruling party will likely use the situation to justify new repressions and a wider crackdown on critical voices. On Monday the 6th, Gogi Gacharia and Mamuka Khazaradze, leader of Zlieri Lelo, each made separate statements on the municipal elections. Both said that the decision by other opposition parties to boycott the elections had been a huge mistake and that it only strengthened the Kotsebi. Gacharia said the success of the boycott campaign was a defeat for Georgia and should be seen as both a mistake and a crime. Khazaradze made a similar point, admitting they failed to convince enough people to vote, adding that their fight against the Russian regime will continue. In related news, on Sunday the 5th, Kaila Kallas, the EU's High Representative and Vice President, together with the Commissioner for Enlargement, Marta Kosi, issued a joint statement on Georgia's local elections. They said the vote took place in an environment where critical voices faced widespread suppression. They point to months of attacks on independent media, laws targeting civil society, arrests of opponents and activists, and changes to the election code favoring the ruling party, all of which sharply reduced the possibility of competitive elections, since many opposition parties boycotted, voter turnout was low. The EU also says the government's refusal to invite international observers, pretending that it was because they didn't invite them on time, hurt transparency. On Sunday the 5th, Georgia's state security service said it found a large sum of guns, ammunition, and explosives with detonators near Tbilisi. The agency said a Georgian citizen identified as BC bought the weapons under instructions from a Georgian fighter in Ukraine. They said the armaments were supposed to be used during the 4th of October attempt to storm the presidential palace, along with other planned attacks on Tbilisi. Very few people believe the report. Real international observers did not observe the municipal elections, but just like in Aslan Abashidze's Ajara of the 1990s, there were some fake international observers paid by the ruling regime. They made statements, but nobody paid really any attention to those statements. Predictably, one turned out to be a well-known pro-Russian figure. Pro-government media introduced Frank Yvon Pengam as a French observer, but he is listed in an international database of fake election observers. Pengam has observed elections only in Russia and Georgia. In 2024, he praised Russia's presidential election, saying it was held at the highest level, and celebrated Vladimir Putin's brilliant victory. He works as an analyst for Géopolitique Profonde, a platform known for spreading conspiracy theories and anti-Western pro-Russian narratives. Pengam has also appeared multiple times on Russia Today and even filmed a report from Russian-occupied parts of Ukraine where he said locals were grateful to Russia. Outside Aslan Abashidze's Ajada, these types of fake international observers have been rare in Georgia. Sad to see them here now at the invitation of the Kotsevi. Next up, on Thursday the 2nd, Kacha Tsiskariishvili, a lawyer working on court-related cases, shared a video where Bessarion Alavidze, former Supreme Court judge, speaks about the years of pressure, threats, and bribe offers he faced while working in court. In the video, Alavidze says he even thought about hanging himself from the Supreme Court roof in his robe to show the public what was happening inside the judiciary. Alavidze described multiple cases and said he holds recordings exposing members of the Klan and their control over judges, case outcomes, and appointments. He says that he sees no point in sharing these records now, as every institution in the country is controlled by Ivanishvili, but warned that if the prosecutor's office tries to bring a case against him, he will make those recordings public. Video was taken in 2022, but was only shared now after Alavidze left the country. David Gogiberishvili, former director of Guldani Prison, was found dead via a gunshot wound in his garage on Thursday the 3rd. This is the same prison where Gogi Bachiashvili, former aide to Bidzina Ivanishvili, is serving his sentence for allegedly defrauding his boss of several thousand bitcoins. Bachiashvili was also attacked and beaten while in his prison. Bachiashvili said that before the attack, the director threatened him and then another inmate was allowed into his cell to assault him. Authorities said Bachiashvili might have organized the attack on himself in collusion with the director and other prison staff. Yeah, maybe. Possibly to strengthen his image as a political prisoner. Kind of ridiculous. They also said the director and his deputy resigned to avoid interfering with the investigation. In any case, the director has now been killed. On Wednesday the 8th, the Georgian Orthodox Church shared a public letter by Patriarch Ilya II where he speaks about artificial intelligence. Said the new technologies and AI bring both great benefits and serious dangers. According to him, AI can help people share knowledge and communicate faster than ever, but it could also push humanity towards moral collapse if used without wisdom. Said society already feels these risks and tries to create safeguards, but it's unclear whether those efforts will succeed. Called on the church to remain a center of true education and moral guidance, helping people tell good from evil in a world driven by information and technology. Really breaking some new ground with this one. On Friday the 3rd, Ricard Józwiak, head of Radio Free Europe's Brussels bureau, said that the European Union is thinking about sanctions on Georgian state propaganda channels Imedi and POSTV. Says the EU is discussing the move under its sanctions regime targeting Russian hybrid threats. These sanctions apply to people or organizations involved in actions by the Russian government that threaten the EU's core values, security, stability, independence, or territorial integrity. Ending this edition with some good news. 15th to the 19th of October, Georgia will take part in the Frankfurt Book Fair for the first time under its newly founded Book Association. The association was created in February 2025 by organizations that left the previous Georgian Publishers and Booksellers Association in protest over growing government interference in their work. The association said its members, composed of publishers, writers, translators, and other literary professionals, have long stood on the front lines of Georgia's protest for justice, freedom, and democracy. It said that taking part in the Frankfurt Book Fair and presenting Georgia's collective stand is a way to show solidarity with the people continuing the fight. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Got any feedback or feed forward? Send us an email at info@rorschach.com. Nachmandis.